Spider-Man No Way Home will reintroduce multiple villains from past Spider-Man franchises, including Thomas Hayden Church's Sandman from Spider-Man 3. And another villain that's also been rumored for the longest time, but has since been debunked, is the Amazing Spider-Man 2's Rhino. Now, like I said, that has been since debunked. Supposedly he will not be appearing in the movie. He'll be referenced and there will be jokes made and everything, but he's not actually going to show up. So any of you that were fans of that Rhino and wanted to see it happen, sorry, no Paul Giamatti Rhino. But we do have some news, though, about both Rhino and Sandman and actually their future after Spider-Man No Way Home, which I don't think anyone saw this coming, and of course do consider this a rumor for now, take it with a grain of salt. But this is some news coming from Daniel RPK, of course, a super reliable source, always giving us the scoop specifically when it comes to trailer release dates. He's been on point with those over the past couple of months and pretty much everything that I've seen him report on. So this is on his Patreon, though, so he kind of has like a way to differentiate things. If he just posts on his Patreon, then it really is just a rumor. That's just something he heard and has not been officially confirmed with his sources. But if he posts it on like Twitter and stuff like that, then it's like confirmed and happening. So this is just a rumor from his Patreon. But basically he's saying that Sony is developing solo movies for both Sandman and Rhino. And wow, like I said, don't think anyone saw this coming. I know I sure didn't, because wow. Although it honestly would surprise me at all, because I mean, literally look at Sony's history. They said they were making a Venom movie. We all thought they were crazy, but they did it. And now that has a sequel. They said they were making a Morbius movie. We thought they were crazy. Well, they made it. It comes out in January. And now they're making a Kraven the Hunter movie. So it honestly would not surprise me if they were actually making a Sandman and Rhino movie. Now, do I actually want this? Not really, because I'd rather just see these characters as villains in Spider-Man movies. That's kind of how I always wanted to see it. But at the same time, if this does end up being a thing, there are some ways I could see it actually making it work. And as soon as this news came online, the first reactions I was seeing from people was like, how can you even do a movie about these characters? Well, I have some ideas. And so first of all, it obviously kind of depends on what versions of the characters. Would it be the same versions from those past movies? Would Thomas Hayden Church's Sandman be returning, reprising his role? And would this be a sequel to Spider-Man 3, continuing the story of that character and also connecting to Spider-Man No Way Home? And then same for Rhino. Would this be Paul Giamatti returning as Rhino, continuing the story from The Amazing Spider-Man 2? I doubt it. I mean, it's possible that they could do that, but I don't think it would work as well, because you could do like origin movies for these characters, but you'd have to do like a completely fresh start. And honestly, if this does end up being a thing, that's how I'd want it to be done. I'd want it to be new, fresh versions, new, fresh takes on these characters to be a part of this new Sony Spider-Verse that's also kind of connected to the MCU, but also not at the same time, and, you know, all that confusing logic. So first, let's start off by talking about Sandman, because I think this is the one that makes even more sense. And honestly, either one of these could actually even work as a series instead, movie or series, if they want to do that. I could see that happening as well. But for Sandman, I feel like this could work really well. And actually, when it comes to casting, I already have a fan cast idea of who I want to play Sandman in the MCU/SPUMC, whatever Sony's calling their universe, and that's John Cena. I've seen some art out there of John Cena as Sandman, and he just looks so good as Sandman, so I'd love to see him in the role. Plus, he's honestly a really good actor, and, you know, he's really good with comedy, so maybe you could even make it more of a comedic film, but also focus in on the dramatic parts, because you could really tell a really interesting origin story for the character Flint Marko. You know, he starts off as a criminal, he's just a common criminal, and then he ends up getting in this accident, and he is turned into the Sandman. And so then once he gets these powers, he has to go through this whole journey of like dealing with his body image and like, oh, I'm a monster and all this stuff, when he really just wants to get back to his daughter and all that stuff. So you could honestly tell a really compelling story with that character. Now, is this something I would want to see? Like, do I want a Sandman movie? Not necessarily, but if they are doing it, they could. Like, there is story to be told there. But as for Rhino, I don't even know. Like there's really not much to do with Rhino. I mean, he's pretty similar to Sandman. Like, he was a criminal, And then he was like, oh, I want more power to take on Spider-Man. So then he got this crazy Rhino suit, and then that's kind of it. Like, there's not really much you can do with the Rhino. Now, what they could do, though, instead, is maybe a team-up movie between the Sandman and Rhino, because, of course, that was a core part of the Spectacular Spider-Man animated series, probably my favorite animated series of all time. I love that series, where it did show the origin of both those characters, and they actually started off as partners in crime. They were robbing banks and everything. This was before they had powers, and Spider-Man was always stopping them. So then they ended up getting a call from Norman Osborn, who was basically doing some experiments and stuff and like testing out superpowers. So he gave them superpowers and turned them into the Sandman and Rhino, and that's something I could also see going down as well. But then the only question is that would really make things hard here is, because these would be superhero movies, first of all, are they going to turn them into anti-heroes like they have with Venom and Morbius? I mean, Morbius, he already was in the comics, but they just turned Venom into a straight-up hero. Would they do that with these characters? Because I really don't want to see that. And whether they do that or not, who are they supposed to fight? I mean, there has to be a villain of the movie, and sure, it could just be like, oh, corporate businessmen, but like, that's just not cool. And I mean, my original idea, like when they first started talking about doing this universe and doing like a Venom solo movie and like a Kraven the Hunter solo movie, at first I thought like, alright, so they're gonna do that and it'll be like Spider-Man's in the movie and he's the villain of the movie, and it's just you're seeing things from the villain's perspective. But no, that's not what they've done at all. They just have other villains fighting villains. So I don't know how exactly they do that, like especially if you did a Rhino solo movie, like who is he supposed to fight? I don't know how that would work. But yeah, so like I said, some interesting updates here. Definitely consider this a rumor, take it with a grain of salt for now. It's interesting to think about, and again, I would not at all be surprised if this is something Sony is actually doing, but I also hope it's not true, because this would just be really, really weird. There's a whole bunch of other stuff they can do instead, so we'll see what happens. But for now, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about this news/rumor that Sony is possibly developing solo movies for both the Sandman and the Rhino? So anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I can keep up to date on everything that goes on in the Marvel life.